Okay. Hang on. What does it say? I can't see. Kim, can you read to me? Kim? What does that say?
It's out. There's trans and out.
What is?
That one.
Okay, here we are. We're good.
Okay, welcome. This is week 3 of our mindfulness meditation class. And we'll begin with a sitting meditation. I forgot my bell, so I'm going to use the gong that I use for my normal meditation at home. I forget what this app is called. I think it's just called Meditation Timer. And we'll try this. So we find our meditation posture, which is seated with our back straight, our hands relaxed, and we first scan our body, feel it planted here, our feet, our seat, and we look for areas that feel stressed. One area very common is the shoulders. I go around during my day and I notice my shoulders are hunched up. And I say, okay, just relax and wow. It's just a gentle attention that we bring here to our body and then to our breath. We feel each in and out breath. Just the feeling of the breath rising and falling, in and out. We don't try to change the breath, we just notice it. By doing this, we are cultivating what we call mindfulness, which just means paying attention in each moment. I heard someone call it kindful attention. That is, we notice our attention wanders from the breath and we don't blame ourselves. We notice that's normal. We're kind to ourselves and we just notice it and we come back to the breath. By doing this formal practice regularly, we train our brains. It's a kind of strengthening the muscle for attention. We actually rewire our brains in positive ways. By coming into the moment, we may notice some calm, peace, or it might be noisy with all the thoughts running through. We just note that and let it go and come back to the breath. And with a regular practice, we notice that we can bring these moments more frequently into each day. It can shape our general demeanor. Help us deal with those stresses that keep coming in life and note them as just part of life. You can note a thought or experience as maybe it's pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, and we just notice that, and we note that all these experiences come and go, and we come back to the breath. And we can relax and just kind of check in how we feel. And I like to kind of go around and talk with the group a little bit about how you're all doing with your practice. How many of you have spent 10 minutes or more almost every day doing the practice in the past week? Okay. That's a goal, and if you can do it more is better. Good. We've had the reading. You're here. That's a big part of it. How many of you have noticed times in the past week where you were doing something and you just said, I'm just going to notice what's happening right now? Good. That's the informal practice. That's just as important. So as often as we can do that in a day, great. How many of you have noticed a time when you were stressed, something bothered you, and you said, I'm just going to notice it and relax and maybe take a breath? Those are the three key things, I think. So that's really good. That's really good. Well, let's just go around and have each of us talk a little bit about our practice in the past week, maybe challenges or questions about the reading or just anything you've noticed.
I'll go first.
Great.
The lying down meditation has helped a lot, and in the past I've done it, but the tips that you gave where you feel your feet connecting with the floor, and that helped me concentrate a little bit more, and I did that practice definitely better. This week has been a crazy week, multiple levels, just a lot going on, and then some family stuff going on. And last night, as I was laying in bed, and in the book, she mentions that feel your emotions as feel them and then release them. And I did that, and all of a sudden it was just like instantly there's this wave of emotion that went through me, and then there was like a release, and that was that's for me it's always like really cool to feel and experience.
Good.
And I did download one of the apps that you had suggested on your sheet, and I was actually surprised at the quality of one of them, and that it was free. So that's a really good one.
Good.
I also did that lay down
Body scan.
Before I went to bed each night too, and just a, as you're going through it, it's kind of like, the emotions and the, feelings, and it's just a kind of process through your day, and it's like just letting it go, and it helped. So, same like during the day too, and stuff like you said before, getting times of stress over the last week. Exactly. I went in my room, like you said, shut my door, and just concentrated and relaxed for 10 minutes,
Right.
which helped.
Mhm. Yeah, I've noticed, throughout the day, I've really been stopping to check in with my body and do some breathing, and I carry a lot of tension in my jaw, and I was able to just be more aware of what's going on in my body, and just to let that go. And another thing I've noticed, I'm not checking my phone obsessively because I don't know, I think throughout the day I'm just more mindful of everything I'm doing, washing the dishes, cleaning,
Right.
which is really good. And the practices have been going well, I also downloaded the Healthy Minds app. That's really good. I really enjoy that.
Good.
So I've been working through those exercises too, along with reading the book and doing her exercises as well. So
Good.
it's been great.
We're using the book Real Happiness by Sharon Salzberg, and we so far the first week was about concentration, which is basically the breathing meditation, and then the second week 2, is about mindfulness and the body. And last time we did 2 exercises that were helping us specifically to focus on our body. The body scan, in which we did it lying down, which is quite traditional, although you can do it in any position, in which we progressively focus on one specific part of the body, move through the body, feel what's there, let it go and move on. It's just about learning us to pay attention to our body, because very often we're not paying attention to it, and just noticing what happened is important, and a way to help us feel better in our body. And we also did some brief yoga, right? We did what I like to just call mindful stretching, in which we are in different positions, poses, and we just kind of pay attention to how that feels. And as I mentioned, I like to use that brief yoga as kind of one of the first things I do in the morning that kind of wakes up my body and mind before I do my sitting meditation. I did bring some benches and cushions this week. There's also some pads that go under them that I didn't get, so I'll bring those next time. But we can try those later if you'd like. But today I have 2 other kind of body awareness meditations to do with you. As I mentioned, we did the body scan, we did the yoga. The first one I'd like to do with you is walking meditation. Walking meditation is some people, that's their favorite go-to. So I encourage everybody to have a sitting practice where they do this sitting, but you really have to pick out what works for you. And the walking meditation is particularly good. Number one, if you're really restless and you can't sit. So it's good for that. If mind is agitated, you can get up and walk. Or number two, if you're really sleepy and you can't stay awake, the walking meditation can help you to stay awake. If you go to a retreat sometime where you're doing meditation, for a day or two or a week, they will traditionally alternate sitting with walking, and it really works very well. You can do walking in a number of ways. I'm just going to show you a minute before we do it together. Very often it can be, and I think this was in the book, right, in this chapter. So very often you'll find a path, and you'll maybe 10 paces or so where you can walk, and you first just notice your position as standing. Relaxing my shoulders, and then you just pay attention to each step. So I'm going to start with the left foot, and I notice lifting it, moving it, placing it, lifting, moving, placing. And you notice just the feeling in your feet and legs of doing this. It takes a lot of concentration and balance. You may notice when you're doing it really slow like this, you will tend to lose your balance sometimes as you get used to it. And then you come to a place, and you turn around, and pause, and then start again. You can also do it, say if we had a larger group here, we could do it in a circle, but I think it'll be convenient for us to do it in this straight line manner. So find a place in the room where you can do this, and I'll guide you through. So first, just notice your body standing. Obviously, we keep our eyes open for this practice. It would be a little complicated to do it eyes closed. Relax your shoulders. Feel your feet planted on the floor. And a nice standing posture, not too stiff, but straight once again. And we notice first we shift our foot to the right foot, and then lift the left foot, move it, and plant it. Lifting, moving, planting. Lifting, moving, planting. And you may just say these words very softly to yourself. Once again, your mind will wander, think about other things, and when you notice that, just come back to the feeling of each step. You may want to coordinate your breathing with your stepping. For instance, breathe in on one step and out on the next step. Or breathe in when lifting and breathe out when planting. This is a very slow walking meditation where we're really paying attention to each little movement. But we can speed it up and walk at a little more normal pace and feel what that feels like. Maybe just say to yourself, step, step, step. Just the feeling, just what we feel as we walk. And at the same time, we're mindful of our surroundings. We don't want to bump into anything or anyone. Maybe something will catch our vision for a moment. We'll say, oh, I note that, I'm noticing that, and then come back to just the feeling of each step. You can do this outside too. In that case, there will be so many things that may catch your attention. And then you can kind of be mindful not only of the sensation of walking, but be mindful of sounds, for instance. And just while you're walking, notice what sounds you hear. Or colors, you may notice colors, and just be mindful of that. And then come back to the sensation of walking. You may notice the wind on your cheeks, dampness or dryness, and just notice that, and then come back to the walking. I know that joggers and runners are doing mindful running now too. Mm-hmm. And when you're ready, come to a stop. And feel your body, and feel what it feels like after having done this practice. And we'll come back to our seats. So this can be a more or less formal practice that we just take a time to do some walking, or it can be informal, where every time we walk, we start to notice what we're doing, and just slow down. Sharon says, anything that you can really, really slow down becomes a mindful activity. Comments or questions on the walking meditation?
I agree with the slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I made my steps kind of slower so that it slowed me down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Wouldn't hurt to have a little sticky note around, just slow down,
Yeah.
right? To remind yourself.
Mm-hmm. Breathe.
Yes. Okay. So there's another tool. The next one I want to share with you today is eating meditation. This is a traditional one using a raisin. How many of you have done this before? Yeah. We're going to take our time appreciating one raisin. So you know it's a raisin, but I'm going to have you first hold out your non-dominant hand and close your eyes, and I'll give you a raisin. Just feel it there. Feel the weight, very little weight of the raisin. So first, just notice holding it. And open your eyes. Look at it. Notice its color. Maybe you'll see some shininess, some darkness. The patterns in it, ridges, bumps, the overall shape. And take your thumb and forefinger of the other hand to move it around a little bit. And just notice what it feels like both in your palm and in your fingers. A little bit squishy perhaps, or hard, moist or dry, and just notice how it feels and how it looks. Roll it around a little bit. Bring it up to your nose. Is there any smell? I hadn't done this before, but I noticed I was reading, a person said, put it up to your ear and squish it, see if you can hear anything. And bring it back into your palm. And just notice the motion of grabbing it, picking it up, and placing it in your mouth. And roll it around in your mouth a little bit. Feel it on your tongue. On your gums in various places, the top of your roof of your mouth, the sides. We're not chewing it yet, we're just kind of moving it around, feeling it. Now maybe just take a gentle little bite and notice if there's what you taste. Once again, maybe you can hear it now. Don't need to define the taste, just notice it. Maybe notice where in your mouth you taste it. And just gradually, gently chew it. And notice how you gradually start swallowing it as this happens. And then as you complete the swallowing, just notice what your mouth feels like now after having eaten this one raisin. Notice the saliva in your mouth, the moistness or dryness. sticky parts left in your teeth. So it's just one reason, but we can do this with a meal. It would take a long time to eat, but just taking moments when we have a quiet meal and just noticing the appearance of the food, the smell of the food, our emotions as we go through eating, without saying anything, just taking that time to notice it is a wonderful mindfulness practice. And we appreciate things more. We once again notice the other thoughts and come back to the eating. So it's training us once again. If you do go on retreat, there is no talking, so you have meals in silence. There's people all around you, and it's really kind of neat because you can just focus on eating. And you may find that this is used, I know a lot. I don't have any experience with this myself, but in weight control programs, mindful eating helps people to lose weight because obviously you slow down, you probably don't eat as much. So much of the time we just kind of go through it and all of a sudden we notice, oh, I'm full. So it's a really great activity, a wonderful thing. Any impressions on the raisin meditation?
I would imagine if you did that with a lot of food, you're gonna find things that you thought you'd like that you don't, and things that you didn't like that you probably do because you eat so fast. And definitely the slow down.
We think we don't have time for this, but it doesn't hurt to just take a little bit of time. I think we can afford that. It's worth it.
Exactly.
I don't have any handouts for you this week, but if you don't have the handouts we've already done, I have those, and those were this one, which is Mindfulness Resources, which has different reading selections. This one with the easy yoga practices that we did last week. This one called Getting Started, where it talks about the formal and informal practice we talked about. And this one that has kind of a lengthy definition of what is mindfulness. Anybody need them? Well, this is our third class, so this means we're halfway through. Anybody who's watching the video, you can get a taste of it by watching these videos, but I really think it's worthwhile, as these people are here, to come for the 6 sessions. It is a progression. And we're also building kind of a community that we get to talk about it. That's an important part of the practice too. Learning to listen to each other, sharing what we've learned. We're not giving advice to each other. Maybe I am, but generally we're not giving advice to each other. We're just telling about what we've noticed, and maybe that will help the rest of us. And it's also an encouragement. If you're going to come here each week and talk about it, that's going to encourage you to keep doing it at home, I hope. For next week, I'd like you to read week 3 in the book, which is pages 106 to 143. It's about mindfulness and emotions. And we're going to get into some deeper stuff with this. This is really when it gets fun, perhaps, and so read that part, please. We'll close with a sit, and before we do that, we can talk a bit if you'd like. I brought these benches and cushions that I'm just going to show you a little bit right now. This is a traditional Zafu cushion that you'll see, and I used to use these. I find that my body can't handle it very well anymore, but I will show you. Now I also have some pads that go under this that help, but we have a rug here, so carpet, so it's possible to do it. The idea is that you want to have your seat above your knees, and you can find various ways to put your legs. It's nice if you can have your knees kind of down toward the ground, and it really allows your back to have this dignified posture. Now I can feel right now the stretching here in my hips, and if you're patient with it and just sit for a while, usually that discomfort will fade. You can do different hand positions. You can put your hands on your thighs. There are these various mudras, they call it, or hand positions like this that you can use. Once again, you can have your eyes open or closed. So I'll invite you to try that if you'd like, but let me show you the bench first, which is what I prefer now. You can get a lot of different kinds of benches. These are foldable, so sometimes if I travel, I can pack it. And so it's a little bit hard on the knees, but I find that this really is very comfortable and allows that kind of that posture with the back straight. And I feel very comfortable sitting like this for long periods. And it's a little easier than a chair in terms of this position. So if you'd like to try benches or the cushions, please do. You can also do the cushion this way, which is a little easier. It's higher, and that works quite well. Okay, I'll lead us in a closing sit when you're ready.
No, I'm gonna stay in the chair.
Also, when you're in a chair, sometimes you may want to adjust the height. You want to have whatever you're in to be a height where you can sit comfortably with your feet on the floor. If you're really short, sometimes you may need, sometimes we'll use one of these cushions just to rest our feet on. We find our dignified position, find a position for our hands. We feel our body planted on the earth, the seat, our knees, our legs, Notice the position of our back, which is straight but not rigid. I like that description of it being dignified. Our eyes can be closed or gently gazing down forward. And begin with a nice deep breath in and a very long out breath. Now we focus our attention on each breath, whether we feel it at the nostrils, chest, or the rise and fall of the belly. And we may note the pause. After we take our in-breath, there's a short pause. And after the out-breath, there's a longer pause. And when we notice a thought, maybe we've started to plan what we're going to do next, what we're going to eat, or very often I've noticed in the morning I'm planning what I'm going to wear, and I notice that, okay, and go back to the breath. Or we may notice memories. We may go over something we just heard or experienced. And we note that. Oh, yeah, I remember that talk. Okay, that's all right. Notice it and come back to the breath. I like to think of all these thoughts that come by as items in my life that require my attention. But for right now, all they need is to be recognized and then let go and then wait for the next one because there will be so many. And come back to the breath. And if we linger with one thought too long, then it won't give a chance for all those other thoughts to come by. So just notice it. We gradually learn to let go and come back to the breath. And notice how we feel right now after having done this in our body, in our mind. Thanks. Thank you for your practice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Do you ever have a time when you're sitting that you don't have these thoughts just pop up?
I haven't, well, I can say in my own experience, I can notice that for very brief periods. It depends. People talk about this state called samadhi, where you're so concentrated you have no thoughts. And for most of us, this happens in little moments, and we appreciate those. That's that feeling of real peace, like nothing going on, just the breath. But, you know, 2 or 3 breaths, then there's a thought for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's a lot
Yeah.